Okay, hi everyone. Thank you for being so patient and thank you for coming back to Small Sword Distance Learning number 3. Okay, so today we are going to start to explore the lower openings. So we've done carte and we've done tierce, which are considered upper openings. And now we're going to explore their equivalents below the wrist. And Chris, if you could mute all the mics but mine, that would be great. So just one note, I had only planned this series to be 4 classes. So next week's going to be the last class, and we are going to cover the salute. So you're going to need a hat. And then we're going to cover a wide variety of solo drills that you can use, and that's going to incorporate all the things that we've been studying in our classes so far. As for other videos, we'll see. There's only so much you can learn solo in Smallsword. I'm not ruling it out, but I'm also not making any promises. So let's get started. So first of all, you might want to come up kind of close to your camera. And I'm going to use my amazing teaching aid that I made out of a t-shirt. So as we think about our attacks, we have our carte thrust and we have our tierce thrust. Now, Angelo calls those thrusts that are going to be over your wrist. So if you and I were fencing and I was in carte and I have my good posture, you would be attacking through this opening right here. So you would be coming over my wrist and you would be hitting my target right about here. So kind of right where this white t-shirt is, ignore above the line. And you can kind of see how there's this window. And this is where you would be attacking in carte. Now, if I was in tierce, again, you would be attacking over the wrist. And you would be attacking that same area. So it would be tierce, tierce, and you would be coming in. And if I profile myself good, instead of turning to talk to the camera, you can see kind of how small a target this really is. So remember, when we use opposition and we protect one line, we're going to be open in another line. Now, if we close off one line, another line opens. So if we are in carte, the guard of carte, and let's say we want to close this upper line off, and so we start to raise our arm up. Well, what happens? So this target up here, it begins, as you can see, the bulk of my arm, my hand, my shell, it's all starting to cover up here. But as I do that, what's opening up? Well, down here is opening up, much lower underneath the actual armpit. Angela calls it the flank. So kind of the side of the rib cage. So again, if I'm in a good carte, you would come in over the wrist. I start to raise my hand. And since you're still attacking the inside, this is still considered carte. However, now you're attacking below the wrist, and this would be in low carte. Same for if we take a look at tierce. So if I'm in tierce, you can see how you would have to come over the blade, you'd come over my wrist, and you would access the target right here. Now, if I decide to shut off this opening by either extending my arm, raising my wrist, straightening my elbow, or some combination of all of those motions, this area becomes shut off. And if they were to attack it, they would have to not only get through my hand, through my arm, there would be physical barriers. But at the same time, I'm opening up down here. So underneath the armpit. And again, to get to that, you would then have to drop your point and attack in low tierce, which Angelo calls second. Why isn't it low tierce and low carte? I can't really say. So it's low carte and seconde. Okay. So it's my lovely teaching aid. It's even a little bit larger. If I had to really cinch it in, you want to get right in here. So let's step over to our pads. So I had people put some sort of obstacle. So some sort of visual reference for you that's going to stand in for your upper arm. So this is not, I don't want people to think of this as a blade. This is not something that we are going to put our point on and take a bind to. This is representing, as you can see, I put it at my shoulder height, and it's going to represent the fact that I could be in carte, but instead, for some reason, I am raising my arm high and I am opening up this target area. So however big it is, I went with the potato masher route. If you have a spoon, if you have a plunger, if you have, I've seen people use bike repair things, and those are terrific. So just keep in mind that if this is the arm, right over here is going to be kind of the sweet spot. We're going to be dropping under and trying to access this area underneath the armpit in the side of your rib cage. So let's start this time with seconde or low tierce. So it's going to feel very, very similar to tierce. So as a reminder, tierce is going to be using our inside edge to cover our outside line. So tierce is going to be like so. We've got that nice opposition to protect us, just a little bit, not too terribly much. And as we go to do tierce at our target, instead of going over the wrist, we are going to drop our point and we're going to pretend to go under the wrist. So if I was fencing with somebody and they had their sword out, Angelo says to almost have it travel parallel. So have two parallel lines coming down. So if I was to practice seconde, I would drop it down, extend my wrist, and thrust. So moving to the target, I see my arm. So I'm going to pretend like I'm dropping my point, like I am in tierce, and I have to get below my opponent's wrist. So I'm in regular tierce. I drop my point, and then I proceed basically in the same manner for a lunge. So extend the arms first, step forward, lunge nicely, recover, and bring the arm back. One slight difference for seconde versus tierce will be that Angelo says that you should lean your body a little bit more. So instead of keeping it especially upright, like a good erect posture, you're going to want to lean a little bit. So a demonstration of that lean might look something like this. So we've discussed the idea of opposition before. The idea of opposition is, if you're in the middle, you're not covering everything. So you should be a little bit off to the side because that'll give you protection. So since we are aiming lower, we need to adjust how we're protected. When we aim lower, let me do it right. If we lean down a little bit, we're still protected behind our hand. If we were to aim lower, while still staying upright, our head and our torso are going to be peeking over it. So we need to lean, not, you know, not extremes, not too terribly much, but just enough that we still maintain that coverage. So let's do this, say 3 more times, nice and slow. I'll call out the motions. So everybody assume the guard of tierce. Good. Now, just practice with me that dropping motion. So if your hand is out in tierce, I'm just keeping it a nice half circle, a nice C. Now, if I was actually fencing someone, I would want to make that drop as small and close as possible. The less distance you travel, the quicker you can move. Also, the smaller your motions, the less likely you're leaving yourself open. So just to show just a nice little drop. Since we are working with a training tool and not an actual person, if your motions are a little bit bigger, that's okay. You can always, refine them over time. The important thing now is to just get that kind of dropping and circling motion. If you went straight down, you would likely catch on the other person's blade. You need to do around it. So let's do 3 nice and slow. So point on target, arms beginning to move, lunge, target hit, hopefully in the right spot. Go ahead and check. Recover, bring arm back. So a little bit more fluid, arms, legs, legs, arms. And then one more, slowish speed, but without having to chop things up quite as much. Okay. So, good. So Angela says, for tierce, you want to aim between the armpit and the right breast. So if my target was on, in profile to me, anywhere kind of in this area would be acceptable. So as I look at it, it would be below and to the left. If you are using a target that's been divided into a quadrant, which is perfectly fine, focus on trying to hit that lower left quadrant and imagine that the arm is coming directly out of the center. Okay. So now let's discuss low carte. So low carte, again, if we had carte and for some reason our opponent raised their arm up high enough, we are going to want to do the same motion we did with second. We're going to want to drop around, orient our tip to that lower opening, and then thrust. So there is going to be one difference with low carte versus second. So in the footwork, when we were doing second, we added that little bit of lean to get our opposition. However, the feet were still like a normal tierce thrust. So my heel is still lined up with my other heel. It's still a 90-degree right angle. Now, when we go and we do our low carte, we need to get that opposition, but we need to do it in a different way. So when we do the carte thrust, so if you could just look at my feet, I'm not even going to do the arms. I'm going to take a slight step in with my forward leg. So as I lunge, my heel is now going to be lined up with my toe. There we go. So instead of heel, heel, it's going to be front leg, heel, back leg, toe. Now, what this is going to do is this is effectively going to bring your body over, and it's going to bring it a little lower. So again, in cart, we're going for a lower opening. So we drop down and thrust. We still get that opposition. We still get that protection of our head and upper body as we're doing this thrust. Same as with tierce and second. If we just went to the lower opening and did a straight thrust, this hand is so much lower now than in a regular cart that it's leaving us open in our upper torso. So let's practice that a little bit on the target now. So no swords yet, no upper arms. Let's just practice the footwork and get used to bringing your lead foot in. So actually, I'm going to face the camera at a slight angle so people can see my feet better. So as I lunge and recover. As I recover, I bring it again to a heel, heel position. I should say heel, heel, lined up, still with the good distance in between. So again, lunge and back. And lunge and back. And this isn't a big motion. This isn't a giant, cross step, triangle step. This isn't a huge motion. It doesn't need to be. You're just dropping a little bit lower. You just need a little bit more coverage from opposition. So, toe to toe. I'm trying to get a good angle that toe to toe. There we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and add our upper body and our arms to this practice then. So when we are using low cart, Angelo says here, we're actually going to aim more toward the flank. So this is going to be the rib cage. So keep that in mind. So as we go to our target, again, if you just have the quarters, go ahead and aim for the lower right portion, just for practice. I am going to aim just below. So just below my arm, maybe a little bit to the right. Not an extreme amount. It's a very small area. It's very close. So if we take our position of cart, and let's just take a moment now and look at ourselves. Do we have a good lofted up rear hand? We do. Do we have majority of the weight on your rear leg? Is your front foot nice and light? It is. Terrific. Is your arm at a good starting point? So not too straight out, not too tucked far in. You want a happy medium. And so we're going to drop the point, extend the arms, lunge in, recover the body, retract the arm. So drop, extend, lunge, recover, resume. Drop, extend, lunge. And do it 3 more times, say, on your own space, on your own speed, as long as that speed is a slower speed. There is no need yet to go at a very fast pace. So 3 times, Nice and easy. Okay. So I didn't mention it, but low cart is also going to be 2 palms up, just like cart was. And second is also going to be 2 palms down, the same as tierce was. So as we do our thrust, our rear hand will be palm up, palm up. As we do our thrust for second, it will be palm down, palm down. Okay. So let's do a few more low cart now, and let's really start focusing on the foot. It's very easy to, I don't want to say get lazy, but it's a very small change. It's also very important, and it's easy to overlook. So for these next reps, what I really want people to focus on is the foot. Still do the arm motions, still do the sword, still drop it correctly, but that isn't where your attention should be. Your attention should be at your feet. So, and if I didn't mention it, let's do 5 at our own pace. Okay, good. Okay. So we covered both low cart and second right now. So I'm going to switch to the gallery view. If you have your video up, I'm going to take a look at you. If you don't want me to look, again, leave the video off, that's fine. So if everybody could, you know, my computer's a little bit touchy right now. I'm not going to do that. I hope it didn't freeze.